Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing about the various welfare programs and schemes related to women empowerment and well as women development, in which is in continuation of my previous lecture where I had started talking about how women welfare was an important measure and how it has been incorporated in 5-year plans, and as well as starting from 1950 onwards or 19 how the welfare measures were being incorporated in 5-year plans, and till date what measures have been taken in order to ensure safety, security, as well as women rights and entitlements all are intact. So if you talk about the provisions under the 5-year plans, when the first 5-year plan was constituted in 1951-1956, contemplated welfare measures for women, and to implement welfare measures for the benefit of poor women, the Central Social Welfare Board was established to deal with the problems of women. And this Central Social Welfare Board recognized and realized the need for organizing women into Mahila Mandals or Women's Club as an approach to community development. And the second 5-year plan, 1956-61, it concentrated overall, intensively on agricultural activity. But however, the welfare approach to women's issues was also determined, recognizing women as worker, further protection of, protection against injuries at work, maternity benefits, and creche facilities for children was also being taken into consideration. It also suggested immediate implementations of the principle of equal pay for equal work, and also the provision for maintaining to enable women to compete for higher jobs, to compete for higher jobs. Then the third 5-year plan sincerely recognized, which was in 1961-66, sincerely recognized the greater importance and significance of the education of women, which has been a major welfare strategy. This plan allocated the largest share for expanding women education, for expanding social welfare services and condensed courses of education. And also it regards to wealth, maternal and child welfare programs were proclaimed in terms of maternal and child welfare, health education, nutrition, as well as family planning. This plan, this also emphasized on women education. The emphasis on women education was continued during the fourth 5-year plan also, 1969 to 74, and the basic policy was to promote women's welfare as the base of operations. In fact, the outlay on family planning was stepped up to reduce the birth rate through education, immunization of preschool children, and supplemental feeding expectant and nursing mothers. Then the need for training women in respect of income generating activities and their protection was stressed in the fifth 5-year plan. Further, the fifth plan also recommended a strategic plan program of functional literacy to equip women with skills to perform the functions as a good housewife. Under the health program, the primary objective was to provide minimum public health facilities integrated with family planning and nutrition for vulnerable groups, pregnant mothers and lactating mothers, as well as children. Then the fifth plan was happened. The fifth plan was happened to be during the decade of International Women's Day and the submission of the report of the Committee on the Status of Women in India. So towards equality, the CSWI had comprehensively examined the rights and status of women in the context of changing social and economic conditions and the problems relating to women advancement. The CSWI reported that the dynamics of social and change and development had adversely affected a large section of women and had created imbalances and disparities. Subsequently, it was realized that the constitutional guarantees the constitutional guarantees of equality would be meaningless and unrealistic unless women's right to economic independence is acknowledged, the training of skills as a contributor to the family and the national economy is improved. So consequently, this national plan of action in 1976, it providing the guidelines based on United Nations World Plan of Action for Women came into force. The National Plan of Action identified areas of health, family planning, nutrition, education, employment, legislation, and social welfare for formulating and implementing of action programs for women, and call for planned intervention to improve the conditions of women in India. So the Women Welfare as a Development Bureau was set set up in 1976 to act as a nodal point with the government of India to coordinate policies as well as programs and initiate measures for the women development. Under the sixth plan, the sixth plan stressed the need of economic independence, education advancement, and access to healthcare and family planning as essential for women's development. So the strategy was threefold: of education, employment, and health, and they are independent and dependent on the total development progress. Then the seventh plan sought to generate awareness among women about the rights and privileges, the long-term objectives of development programs. In the seventh plan were to raise women's economic and social status in order to bring them into the mainstream of national development and recognize the importance of women in contributing to the various socio-economic, political and cultural activities. The seventh plan also emphasized the need to open new avenues for women and perceive them as crucial resource for the development of the country. And another salient and crucial recognition was the need for the organization of women workers in unionization. So under the seventh plan, there was this new scheme, Women's Development Corporation, which has been taken up for promoting the employment generating activities by supporting schemes for women's group and women from poorer sections of the society. A women's development planning and monitoring cell was also set up for the collection of data and monitoring of the plan program. A very significant step therein was taken to identify and promote the beneficiary beneficiary oriented program which extended direct benefits to the women. So during the seventh plan, the Indian Parliament adopted a national policy on education 1986, including a chapter on education for women's equality. Then the strategy in the eighth plan was to ensure that the benefits of development from different sectors did not bypass women, and special programs were implemented to complement the general program. So the main objective of the eighth plan was to extend the reach of services to women, both quantitatively as well as qualitatively. So Panchayati Raj institutions were involved in the designing and implementation of programs. The approach of the eighth plan made a definite shift from development to empowerment of women. Now this focus was from development to empowerment in order to meet the needs and expectations of the women and children, and there had been a progressive increase in the plan outlays also over the past 8-year plans. So the outlay of rupees 4 crores in the first 5-year plan had gone up to rupees 2,000 crores in the 8th 5-year plan and 9th plan. So an important objective in approach paper was it was about the empowerment of women, and in planning process empowerment became a very important tool, or empowerment at the outset meant choices for women, and opportunities should be made available to these choices. So the supportive environment should be provided to the women at all stages, whether it is home, school, religion, government or workplace. Was one that gender sensitive. It was one with the gender sensitive in all regional meetings. Participants asked for gender sensitization or training of all levels in public and private sectors. Then there is the 9th 5-year plan, which came into effect from April 1997. An approach had been developed by the Planning Commission and accepted by the National Development Council, which had become basis for the developing 9th 5-year plan. In this approach, paper focus was laid on the empowerment of women and people's participation in planning and implementation of strategies. And in lieu with this, I would also like to say that the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1993 ensured reservations 1/3 seats for women both in the Panchayati Raj institutions as well as in the in rural areas and in the municipalities in the urban area. So women had been brought a center stage in the nation's efforts to strengthen democratic institutions. So women were facing a lot of issues like feminization of poverty, inadequate investment in social sectors, violence against women and stereotyped portrayal of women in private and and the state media, especially especially. So there was a necessity for information and training opportunities, reservations and social services, and people's involvement was necessary for the success of any program. So empowerment is about the choice and ability, exercises where women exercises certain choices, and they have been involved in the policy making system. So the 5-year plans was an attempt to bring about women's issues within the policy framework. So the 10th plan aims at empowering women through translating the recently adopted national policy of empowerment of women into action and ensuring survival, protection and development of children through right-based approach. Then the 11th plan paper aimed to raise the sex ratio for the age group 0 to 6 to 935 by 2011 and 12, and to 950 by 2016-17. And this plan intend to ensure 33% of the direct and indirect beneficiaries of all government schemes are women and girl children. And it also proposes to ensure that all children enjoy safe childhood without any compulsion to work. Now, then there's a national policy for women empowerment. The government of India has declared 2001 as Women Empowerment Year, and the national policy of the of empowerment of women had set certain clear-cut goals and objectives. The policy is aimed at upliftment, development and empowerment in the socio-economic sphere and the political cultural aspects by creating in them awareness on various issues in relation to their empowerment. Some of the specific objectives of the policy are creating an environment through positive economic and social policies for all full development, for overall development of women to enable them to realize their full potential, the de jure and de facto enjoyments of all human rights and fundamental freedom by women on equal basis with women in political, social, economic, cultural and civil spheres. Then equal access to participation in decision making of women in social, political, economic life of the nation, and then equal access to women to healthcare, equality, quality education at all levels, career and vocational guidance, employment, equal remuneration, health and safety, social security and public life. Strengthening legal systems aimed at elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, then changing societal attitudes and community practices by active participation and involvement of both men and women, then ministering a gender perspective in the development process, elimination of discrimination and all forms of violence against women and the girl child, and building and strengthening partnerships with civil society, particularly women's organizations. Then there are some selected programs for the women development. The Ministry of Women and Child Development, as a nodal agency for all matters related to welfare, development, empowerment of women, has evolved schemes and programs for their benefit, and these schemes spread across a broader spectrum, such as women's need for shelter, safety, security, legal aid, justice, information, maternal health, food, nutrition, etc., as well as their need for economic sustenance through skill development, education and access to credit and marketing. These are the various schemes. First, one-stop center and universalization of women helpline. Ministry of Women and Child Development is administering two schemes from Nirbhaya Fund, namely one-stop and universalization of women helplines. The one-stop centers, OCs, properly known as the Sakhi centers, aims to facilitate women affected by violence, including domestic violence, with a range of integrated services under one roof, such as police facilitation, medical aid, providing legal aid and legal counseling, psychosocial counseling, temporary shelter, etc. The Women Helpline scheme provides 24 hours emergency services and non-emergency response to women affected by violence, both in public and private spaces, by linking them with appropriate authorities such as police, one-stop center, hospitals, legal services, etc. And Women Helpline also supports women in distress with rescue van and counseling services, in addition to provide information about women welfare schemes and programs across the country. Women can dial 181 short code to avail services from Women Helpline. Then Swadhar Grah scheme. The Swadhar Grah scheme is also being implemented as a centrally sponsored scheme for women who are victim of difficult circumstances in need of institutional support for rehabilitation, so that they could lead their life with dignity. Then there's Rashtra Mehla Kosh Kosh. The Rashtra Mahila Kosh was established by the Department of Women and Child Development under the Ministry of Human Resource Development for the purpose of delivery of credit through women's development, corporations, non-governmental organizations, and self-help groups to 2 lakh poor women from both from rural as well as urban areas whose family income does not exceed 11,000 per annum in rural areas and 11,800 per annum in the urban areas. So the interest charge is 12% per annum to the ultimate borrower woman and 8% to the NGOs and the corporations. So the Women Development Corporation has been sanctioned a loan of rupees 20 lakh from RMK to lend through self-help group Mahila Mandal for covering 1,000 women. Then Indira Mahila Yojana. The Indira Mahila Yojana was another women development program initiated by the government, which was launched in August 1995 and in more than 200 blocks of the country. The main objective of this program was to give a forward thrust to the women education, awareness, income generation, capacities and the empowerment of women. The platforms for the forward thrust were to be the self-help groups at the grassroots level. Under the scheme, women were to be constituted into Mahila block societies at the Anganwadi level, at the grassroots level. Under every Anganwadi, there should be women self-help groups. The Mahila groups will be encouraged to take up some thrift activity. Also, they fund the funds so collected over a period of time can be revolved amongst the members and financial support for the expansion of their income generation activities. So also for starting of a new venture. Then the group also avail credit facilities from the state and national lending institutions like Rashtra Mahila Kosh, Social Board, etc. And the Government of India affords a group with financial support to a tune of rupees 5,000. Thus, the IMI is a strategy to coordinate and integrate components of all sectoral programs taken up by the women. Then Mahila Samriddhi Yojana. The Mahila Samriddhi Yojana is currently again is a centrally sponsored scheme which was launched in 1993, and through MSY, every rural woman aged 18 and above can open an MSY account of money she can save, and the government would contribute an incentive money of 25% to her of her savings for an amount up to 300 kept in the account for a lock-in period. For 1 year, this is the deposits have to be remain in account for a period of 12 months, and the maximum participation of government is limited to 975 per year. So the Department of Women and Child Development under the Ministry of Human Resource Development gets the scheme implemented through the network of rupees 1.32 lakh post offices, the Department of Posts functioning in the rural areas. So an important aspect of program is that involvement of non-governmental organizations at all levels. NGOs will hold awareness generation camps in villages through which they would mobilize women to take up savings as an economic choice, as a conscious choice. Then Beti Bachao Beti Padhao is another scheme which was launched in 22nd January 2015 with an aim to address declining child sex ratio and related issues of empowerment of girls and women over a life cycle continuum. The objective of the scheme are to prevent gender biased sex selective elimination, to ensure survival and protection of the girl child, and to ensure education and participation of the Mahila Shakti Kendra. The Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme was also came into 2017 as a centrally sponsored scheme to empower rural women through community participation. The aims to facilitate intersectoral convergence of schemes and programs meant for women, and the scheme is implemented through state government, union territory administrations with a cost sharing ratio of 60:40 between center and state, except for the northeast and special category states where the funding ratio is 90 to 10. For union territories, 100% central funding is provided. Then there is Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana is again a centrally sponsored conditional cash transfer scheme for implementation across the country with effect from 2017, and the maternity benefit under PMVY is available to all pregnant women and lactating mothers, excluding excluding pregnant women and lactating mothers who are in regular employment with the central government or the state government or public sector undertakings for those who are the recipient of similar benefits under any law for the time being in force for a first living child in family. So under the scheme, 5,000 rupees are provided to the eligible beneficiaries in 3 installments during pregnancy and lactation and in response to individual fulfilling certain nutrition and health seeking conditions. And the eligible beneficiary also receives the remaining cash incentive as per approved norms towards maternity benefit under Janani Suraksha Yojana after institutional delivery, so that on a verge a woman gets rupees 6,000. Then Swashakti, the objective of the program was to bring about socio-economic development and empowerment of women through promotion of women SAGs, microcredit and income generating activities. Then Swam Siddha, this was again an integrated scheme for women empowerment through formation of self-help groups launched in 2001. The long-term objective of this program was holistic empowerment of women through a sustained process of mobilization and convergence of all ongoing sectoral programs by improving access of women to microcredit, economic resources, etc. This is again a centrally sponsored scheme, and the scheme has been able to provide a forum for women empowerment, collective reflection and united action. The scheme was culminated in March 2007. Then Swalamba program, previously known as NORAD, Women's Economic Program, was launched in 1982-83 with the assistance from the Norwegian Agency for Development Corporation. NORAD assistance was available till 1996-1990, after which the program is being run with the Government of India funds. And the objective of this program is to provide training and skills to women to facilitate them to obtain employment or self-employment on sustained basis. The target groups under the scheme are the poor and needy women, work from the weaker sections of the population such as scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Then Mahila-e-Haat is an online portal launched by the Ministry of Women and Child Development to allow women entrepreneurs to showcase their products to buyers using mobile and internet connections. This is more tech savvy. The initiative supports the Make in India program, and it includes various products such as clothing, fashion, accessories, home decor, pottery, etc. So the platform has been established by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, under the Rashtra Mahila Kosh. Then Mission Shakti Integrated Women Empowerment Program, an umbrella scheme, is in a mission mode aimed at strengthening interventions for safety, security and empowerment of women. It seeks to realize the government's vision for women-led development by addressing issues facing on a life cycle continuum basis, and by making them equal and nation building, equal partners in nation building through convergence across ministries, departments and different levels of governance, a greater participation and support of panchayats and other local governance body and Jan Sahibagita, apart from strengthening digital infrastructure for the last mile tracking of service delivery. Then there is Mahila Police Volunteer Scheme. The Mahila Police Volunteer Scheme was launched by the Ministry of Women and Child in collaboration with Home Affairs for the engagement of MPVs in the states and union territories. It is a central sponsored scheme, intends to serve as a public policy interface to help women in distress, and this scheme envisages the creation of a link between police authorities and the local communities to facilitate police outreach on gender concerns. Then there is Swadhar scheme for women in difficult circumstances, which was launched again by the ministry during the year 2001-2002 for the benefit of women in difficult circumstances, with the following objective: first, to provide primary need for shelter, food, clothing and care to the marginalized women, girls living in difficult circumstances who are without any kind of social support or economic support. Then to provide emotional support and counseling to rehabilitate them socially, economically through education awareness, to arrange for specific clinical, legal and other supports system for women, girls in need, and to provide for help in other facilities to such women in distress. And the target group beneficiaries under the scheme included widows deserted by their families and relatives, women prisoners released from jail and without family support, women survivors of natural disasters who have been rendered homeless, and trafficked women, girls rescued or run away from brothels. Then there is Rajiv Gandhi scheme for the empowerment of adolescent girls, Sabla, a comprehensive scheme for the holistic development of adolescent girls. Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of adolescent girls, Sabla, is a centrally sponsored scheme of government initiated in April 2011 and under Ministry of Women and Child Development. Sabla is being implemented in 205 selected districts across the country using the ICDS platform, and in these districts Sabla has replaced a nutrition program for adolescent girls and Kishori Shakti Yojana. In the non-Sabla district, KSY continues as before. Sabla is being implemented through the state government, union territories with 100% financial assistance from the central government for all inputs other than nutrition provision, for which 50% central assistance is being provided to the states. So, Anganwadi Center is a focal point for the delivery of these services. Sabla aims at all-round development of adolescent girls age of 11 to 18 years. By making them self-reliant, by facilitating access to learning, health and nutrition through various interventions such as health, education, vocational training. The scheme also has two major components, that is nutrition and non-nutrition. Nutrition component containing 600 calories, 18 to 20 grams of protein and micronutrients per beneficiary per day for 300 days in a year is being given in the form of take-home rations or hot cooked meals to 11 to and 4 to 11 and 14 to 11 to 14 years of out of school girls and all girls of 14 to 18 years age out of school and in school. And in the non nutrition component and out of school adolescent girls from 11 to 18 years are being provided IFA, supplementation, health checkups and referral services, nutrition and health education, counseling, guidance on family welfare, adolescent reproductive sexual health, child practices on life skill education and assessing public services. 16 to 18 years old ages are also given vocational training. Then the Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana is a conditional cash transfer scheme for pregnant and lactating women. It was introduced in the year 2010 to contribute to a better enabling environment by providing cash incentives and improved health and nutrition to pregnant and nursing mothers. The scheme also envisaged providing cash to pregnant and lactating mother during pregnancy and lactation in response to individual fulfilling specific conditions. It addresses short-term income support objectives with long-term objective of behavioral and attitudinal changes, and the scheme attempts to partly compensate for wage loss to pregnant and lactating women both prior and after delivery of the child. Then there is the support to training and employment program for women STEP, which was launched at the central sector scheme in 1986-87. The scheme aims to make a significant impact on women by upgrading skills for employment on a self-sustainable basis and income generation for marginalized and assetless rural and urban women, especially those in SC/ST household and families living below poverty line. And the key strategies including training for all skill development, mobilizing women in viable groups for enabling, arranging for marketing linkages and access to credit. The scheme also provides for enabling support services in the form of health checkups, child care, legal and health literacy, elementary education as well as gender sensitization. And the scheme envisages each project to thrive on a sustainable basis with the minimum governmental support and intervention even after the first project period is over. The scheme covers 10 sectors of employment, that is agriculture, animal husbandry, dairying, fisheries, handloom, handicrafts, khadi and village industries, sericulture, wasteland development and social forestry. The scope and coverage of the scheme has been enlarged with the introduction of locally appropriate sectors. Then working women hostels. The working women hostels envisages provision of safe and affordable hostel accommodation to working women, women working at places away from their hometown and for women being trained for employment. The scheme has been revised with following salient features: financial assistance for construction of hostel buildings to be given on a public land, uh, then financial assistance available for the rent of hostels run in rented premises also. Then provisions have been also given for the maintenance grant of hostel building, and one time a non-recurring grant for furnishings. And certain government agencies like the urban municipal bodies, cantonment boards, civil society organizations, panchayati raj institutions, self-help groups, recognized colleges, universities, and corporates or associations, associated chambers of commerce, India, etc., all are included under the revised scheme. Since its inception, or 1972-73, 902 working women hostels have been sanctioned under the scheme all over the country, benefiting around 67,284 working women. Then there is Women Empowerment and Livelihood Program in Mid-Gangetic Plains, that is Priyadarshini. From the year 2011, the ministry is administering IFAD assisted pilot project, namely Women's Empowerment and Livelihood Program in the Mid-Gangetic Plains in 13 blocks spread over 5 districts in Uttar Pradesh and 2 districts in Bihar. And the program aims at the holistic empowerment, economic and social, of vulnerable groups of women and adolescent girls in the project and project area through oration of women's self-help groups and promotion of improved livelihood opportunities. Though the focus of project is on livelihood opportunities and in fact enhancement, the beneficiaries will be empowered to address the political, legal and health problems issues through rigorous capacity building. Then the NABARD is leading the program agency for the implementation through engagement of resource NGOs and field NGOs. Field NGOs are envisaged to carry out all field level activities, whereas the resource NGOs has been envisioned to undertake activities relating to specialized capacity building and provide other technical support to all field level project functionaries to ensure effective implementation of the program. And the program also envisages giving training to SHG members on topics such as income generation and allied activities, marketing of products and social issues. Then the Digital Shakti campaign is also there, is a pan-India initiative run by the National Commission for Women with the goal of empowering and educating women and girls digitally in keeping with its promise to establish safe spaces for women and girls online. Digital Shakti is concentrated on empowering women to confront any inappropriate or criminal behavior online. Then Ujjwala scheme, again a centrally sponsored scheme for the prevention of trafficking and for the rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration and repatriation of victims of trafficking from commercial sexual exploitation. The Ujjwala scheme is now being implemented. The Nirbhaya Fund, women and girls are frequently the victims of violence and abuse on the streets, in transit and in other public settings. So such incidents limits women's freedom on movement and discourage them to moving freely in the public locations of the choice. So as a result, the government has established through the Nirbhaya Fund a special fund that can be used for the initiatives aimed at enhancing women's protection and safety. It is a non-lapsable corpus fund that is managed by the Ministry of Finance, Departments of Economic Affairs, and a one-time assistance of rupees 200 crores from the Nirbhaya Fund was given to the states and union territories at a top-up grant support to support the various victim compensation schemes. Then the Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana is again a maternity benefit program run by the Government of India. It was introduced in 2010 and implemented by Ministry of Women and Child Development. It is a conditional cash transfer scheme for pregnant and lactating mothers of 19 years of age or above for the first 2 live births. It provides partial wage compensation to women for wage loss during the childbirth and childcare, and aims to promote conditions for safe delivery and good nutrition and feeding practices. In 2013, the scheme was brought under the National Food Security Act to implement the provisions of cash maternity benefit of rupees 6,000 stated in the Act. The objective of the scheme was to promote appropriate practice, care, institutional service utilization during pregnancy, delivery and lactation, then encouraging the woman to follow optimal nutrition and feeding practices, including early and exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. Then providing cash incentives for improved health and nutrition to pregnant and lactating mothers. The scheme also attempts to partly compensate for wage loss to pregnant and lactating women both prior to and after the delivery of the child. The beneficiary under this scheme are women above the age of 19 years to get the benefits of this scheme for the first two live births, and all organized sector employees are excluded from the scheme as they are entitled for paid maternity leave. Then the Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme was also improved. The Government of India approved the Pradhan Mantri Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme 2018, 17-18 to 2019-20 to create environment where rural women realize their full potential and empower themselves through community participation. And the Mahila Shakti scheme was introduced under the umbrella scheme of Pradhan Mantri Mahila Shakti-Karan Yojana. And this scheme will provide a platform for rural women to approach the government to avail their entitlements and empower them through training, awareness generation and capacity building. And the government discontinued the MSK scheme in 2022. However, the MSK scheme is envisaged to work at various levels, and the national and state level structures will provide technical support to the respective governments on issues related to women, and the district and block level centers will support the scheme and give a foothold to women empowerment schemes. Then the Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme. Widow pension is provided to the widows belonging to the below poverty line household. This is a sub-scheme under National Social Assistance Program of Ministry of Rural Development, and under this scheme, central assistance rupees 300 per month is provided by widows in the age group of 40 to 79 years, and the pension amount is enhanced to rupees 500 per month to till on attaining 80 years. Then Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendra, emphasis has been laid on creating additional infrastructure both for training and apprenticeship for women, and flexible training delivery mechanisms such as mobile training units, flexible afternoon batches along with local need-based training to accommodate and ensuring safe and gender-sensitive training environment of women trainers, equity in remuneration and complaint redressal mechanism. Thus, these were the various schemes and programs which has been initiated for the welfare of women. I had discussed in length about the constitutional safeguards, the legal safeguards, the legal protection for women, 5-year plans, what were the provisions under 5-year plans, and the various schemes and programs. So, it can be said the women welfare is just not a societal goal but a cornerstone for building a more equitable and prosperous society, empowering women through education, healthcare, economic opportunities and protection of their rights ensure the progress of families, communities and nations as a whole. And we have made significant stride. Challenges like gender inequality, violence and limited access to resources still persist, but then there are certain limitations till date, and it becomes imperative and a collective responsibility to foster environments where women can can thrive without any kind of fear or limitation, ensure their voices are heard and valued. There is a need to create, although apart from the various schemes and programs which are yet implemented, but there's still more to be done in order to bring a more viable and comfortable environment, thus creating more programs and policies and the social attitudes that prioritize women's welfare, embracing inclusivity and mutual respect. So it can be through, with a collective effort, a road can, we can pave the way for a brighter and more equitable future for all. Thank you everyone. This is all about women welfare. In my next class, I will talk about child welfare.